mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
This is a short 5-minute segment. We got a 12-minute segment coming up for that, and then our guest will leave us, and I'll hit all the other news we haven't gotten to yet, some of the breaking news, and some special reports on this live Friday edition. I want to go back to your calls, Clarence, Doug, Mike, Matthew, Cato, and others in the next segment. Going back to Mr. Steele, our guest, working in the CIA, I know in the Middle East and actual operations with the Army and others, you know the different groups. And earlier you pointed out very succinctly what you think is going on with ISIS. But recapping that and expanding, are they losing control of the situation, or is it just a general Muslim sectarian war they want, a religious war? What is the goal looking at this? Is there a real split with Saudi Arabia, with the U.S. to Iran, or is that all show? Is this cover so Netanyahu can hit Iran and then the U.S. doesn't get blamed? What are the smarter people saying in Washington?
Well, I'm very lucky to have gotten to know many of the smarter people, most of whom don't work for the U.S. government. Let me explore this at 3 different levels. Number one, Israel's influence in the United States is going to take a sharp downturn. Gareth Porter has an excellent piece out on how Israel has been gaming the Iranian threat for decades. And what I am starting to see, and this last visit by the Prime Minister to Congress may have been the straw that broke the camel's back. There are 6 million Jews in the United States, and the amount of financial and political influence they have is grotesque when you compare that to the larger population of 300 million and more. 6 million, okay? So I think that Israel's ability to manipulate the U.S. government is about to take a sharp downturn, and the lies that Israel, Zionist Israel, not the good Jews of Israel, have been telling are about to take a hit. Number 2, Iran is not a threat. It never has been a threat. It is not a threat. It is a long-term strategic player. And one of the most popular slides, graphics on my website, is the one that shows the Sunni Shia split. The United States of America, Dick Cheney, fell prey to Chalabi, who was an Iranian asset, and it was Dick Cheney that created the turmoil in the Middle East. The Shiites of Iraq were under Saddam Hussein's thumb. So we have basically created this opportunity for Iran to reassert itself as a major power. And Turkey is also reasserting itself as a major
Sure. Can you ever get rid of Iran and Iraq once they're in?
What's that?
I mean, once you let Iran into a place, how do you ever get them out?
Well, I'm not sure that's our problem. I would like to get us out of the Middle East. Ambassador Mark Palmer wrote an excellent book called Breaking the Real Axis of Evil. And what the American taxpayer has to understand is that in our name, and Bill Bloom's book on Killing Hope and his latest book on American Nemesis is very important. We are best pals with 42 of the 44 dictators on the planet, and most of those dictators are in the Middle East. The United States government, in our name, supports dictators. And part of the thing people don't understand is that the reason NATO is so out of control is because NATO is how the U.S. military-industrial complex sells arms subsidized by the U.S. taxpayers to dictators who are screwing their own publics in order to buy larger palaces. And last but not least, I think it's extraordinarily important to understand that we have been grossly irresponsible. The Department of State under Kerry, under Hillary Clinton, going all the way back to Madeleine Albright, who once described herself as a gerbil on a wheel, which I think is an accurate description of the average U.S. Secretary of State. These people are insane. They're criminally insane, and they're very uninformed, and they're very unethical and hypocritical, and they're not representing the public interest in the Middle East.
I can't disagree with a word he just said. We'll be right back with some phone calls and other big issues and topics that Mr. Steele wants to raise. I'm your host, Alex Jones, Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. We'll give you both of Mr. Steele's websites when we return. Stay with us and tell friends and family to tune in. This is really important information we're hearing. Use since before the days of the Roman Empire to support the body's natural systems and enhance overall health. Introducing the new InfoWarsLife.com oil of oregano formulation, a highly advanced nutraceutical form of this key herb that has been traditionally used by civilizations for thousands of years to promote health. We have now procured the most high quality and potent forms of oregano oil on the market, sourced from top leading manufacturers to ensure a concentrated level of bioactive ingredients, extracted directly from the wild herb and sealed in easy-to-use capsules. You will no longer need to endure the burning of liquid oregano on the tongue. Wild crafted from the Mediterranean oregano species that experts agree is one of the most powerful and most challenging to acquire. This winter season, it's more important than ever to secure this true form of oil of oregano. Now available in our limited first run at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139. When cells become toxic, they die early and aging sets in. No one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. Just one of the key compounds, BioPQQ, is backed by major clinical studies. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? We now have the synergistic solution. Secure your DNA force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
The average person's life is filled with unexpected challenges. Unlock the energy it takes to defeat these daily beasts with super male or super female vitality, specifically designed to assist the body in regulating proper hormone balance to create superior vitality in males and females. Supercharge and conquer your world at InfoWarsLife.com or call 1-888-253-3139.
Sold out for weeks due to the difficult and extensive proprietary process behind its creation, the exclusive InfoWars Life Secret 12 formulation is now back in stock. This ultra-clean vitamin B12 nutraceutical has been carefully crafted and developed over the last 2 years and is based on cellular science of how your body actively absorbs essential nutrients. Most forms of vitamin B12 are highly processed and synthetic and could not be properly absorbed by the body. Secret 12 is a binary of nutramedical grade, bioavailable coenzyme forms of B12, methylcobalamin, the same kind used in B12 injections, and adenosylcobalamin, the most bioactive form that has been created with our proprietary process. Secret 12 is taken by mouth, right on the tongue, and then swallowed. No needles, no injections. Don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself. Discover the secret. Secret 12. Supplies of Secret 12 are very limited. Secure yours today at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.
Defending the Republic from enemies, foreign and domestic. It's Alex Jones.
Final segment with our guest. Robert David Steele. The website is phi-beta-iota.net or bigbatusa.org. We have them linked up at Infowars.com, and we are going to send them out on Twitter as well. We are taking your phone calls right now. Callers that aren't from Mr. Steele, I'll get to you after he leaves us. But I wanted to throw one more big question at him. We see the Secretary of Defense, before Hagel was basically kicked out, saying the world's more dangerous now than it's ever been. Lord Jacob Rothschild came out yesterday and told members of NM Rothschild and others the same thing in a press release. We've got the former Fed Chairman Greenspan saying similar things. What are they trying to warn us of, or do they want to look like they were trying to help if things go south? What do you make of the proxy war in Ukraine? Where is that going? The situation with China? Geopolitically, just give us a brief assessment.
Well, the brief assessment is that they're lying to us. The world is only more dangerous to the 1%. It's not more dangerous to the 99%. The BRICS, and particularly Russia, India, and China, and Iran, and Indonesia, which most people overlook, but Indonesia is easily one of the future superpowers in the 21st century. These countries are all committed to peaceful growth. They can't afford a war, and they don't want a war. And last but not least, it breaks my heart that for less than 5% of what the 1% have under management, the trillions and trillions of dollars in false wealth, I mean, it's obscene that the Cox should be making $3 million an hour in interest on their digital money. For less than 5% of what they have under management, I can give every person on this planet a full-time salary, a house that does not leak, running water, free energy, and an internet connection.
That's right. The studies have been done. They're legion, a literal renaissance, a platform to the stars. Instead, you read all the globalist finance futurists. They're saying humanity's dumb. We're going to merge with machines. Humanity's crap. The elite are going to live forever. I mean, this is really a very sickening Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake type worldview by these inbred crazy people.
Well, not only that, but I frankly consider the people who worry about artificial intelligence as an existential threat to be inherently dishonest. I worry about artificial stupidity. The absolute last thing we want to do is automate the morons that we've got in charge now.
I agree. So that's the danger, is creating automated, autonomous systems that these people are in control of, because then they don't even have generals or colonels or operatives or the people to say no.
That's the best thing about humanity, is it can learn how to say no in the moment. I mean, I love that movie War Games, where the two guys are told to do the trigger, or that submarine movie where Denzel Washington stops the captain from launching a nuclear war on Russia. Now, people don't remember, but in the Cuban Missile Crisis, it was a Soviet submarine commander that refused an order to launch a missile.
That's right. People forget that.
From going to World War III.
Tell that story for folks that don't remember it or don't know about it.
Well, in the Cuban Missile Crisis, first off, the Cuban Missile Crisis was CIA's first attempt to destroy John F. Kennedy. That was never intended. The Bay of Pigs, I'm sorry, was CIA's first attempt to destroy Kennedy. In the Cuban Missile Crisis, we ended up doing a blockade, and there are two facts that matter. The first is that unbeknownst to their governments, Kennedy and Khrushchev were in direct private communication, and they both agreed that their worst, biggest problem and the greatest threat to human peace was their respective generals. And second, it was a Soviet submarine commander that refused an order to sink a U.S. Navy vessel enforcing the blockade that kept Cuba from going to World War III.
That's right, and it was General Curtis LeMay that they famously have the part of as Jack T. Ripper in the Stanley Kubrick movie, who wants to start the nuclear war with Plan R. Folks don't know, but that it was later declassified that Curtis LeMay, the head of the Strategic Air Command, wanted to do that.
Yes, and in fact, we have Operation Northwoods, which Jim Bamford has made famous. Look, it is not possible to overstate the lack of integrity at the highest levels of the U.S. government, and particularly at the highest levels of our uniformed services and our senior executive service in the Department of Defense. William Binney has said it best. These people exist to keep the problems going and the money moving. They have a severe lack of integrity, and they are not at all committed to the public interest.
But now they've got nuclear weapons. I mean, you think about all the mistakes dictators and people made, like Hitler starting a war with Russia when he was already losing wars in North Africa. I mean, that's what's scary, is the elite really could start World War III and are moving in that direction. They're very unstable.
Well, I would also draw your attention to the damage being done every day by industry. I mean, Bhopal, for example. I was reading a very, very useful piece in Counterpunch in which we ought to make it illegal for any industrial process to produce any poison for which we do not have a solution. There's a wonderful book by Charles Perrow, who wrote the book Normal Accidents, dealing with high-risk technologies. He's written a more recent book on catastrophes. He points out that there is a tank of chlorine sitting above the superhighway going into New York City in New Jersey, that if you can put a hole in that thing and light it on fire, you will wipe out a good portion of Brooklyn, as well as portions of Manhattan.
And by the way, I mean, I'm no former CIA guy like you, but I know how to read warfare manuals and study warfare. I mean, the stuff, people worried about Anarchist Cookbook, that thing's a joke. There's nothing in there. But what is important is what real sleeper teams of special forces, like 5 guys per city, could do, dumping chlorine down skyscrapers,